History remembers empires for how they rise, but it never forgets how they fall. In the year 331 BCE, the most powerful empire on Earth stood ready for war. Persia ruled millions, from Egypt to Central Asia, from deserts to mountains. It seemed unstoppable. But one battle, just one, changed everything. And by sunset that day, an empire that had ruled the world began to collapse. This wasn't just a military defeat. It was the moment when history changed direction. And it began with a young king who refused to accept his place in the world. If real history matters to you, subscribe to HistoryMind. Stage 1. The Young King. His name was Alexander III and of Macedon. History would later call him Alexander the Great. But in 331 BCE, he was only 25 years old, young, relentless, and obsessed with conquest. By the time he marched toward Persia, he had already defeated powerful armies. He had crossed mountains, rivers, and deserts, and he had never lost a battle. But Persia was different, because Persia was not just a kingdom. It was an empire. Stage 2. The Empire of Darius. The Persian Empire was ruled by King Darius III. He commanded one of the largest armies ever assembled. Thousands of cavalry, tens of thousands of infantry, war elephants, scythe chariots, archers trained since childhood. And most importantly, numbers. Persia believed victory was inevitable because no force had ever defeated them on open ground. Stage 3. The road to war. Alexander knew the risk. He knew his army was smaller, much smaller. But he also understood something. Battles are not decided only by numbers. They are decided by discipline, by strategy, by fear. As both armies moved toward each other, tensions spread across the region. Villages emptied, farmers fled, and the world waited for news. Stage 4. The Field of Gaugamela. The armies finally met near a small village called Gaugamela. Northern Mesopotamia, flatland, perfect for Persian cavalry, perfect for chariots, perfect for a massive army. And Darius had chosen it carefully. He even ordered the ground leveled to maximize his advantage. Alexander understood immediately. This would be his hardest battle yet. Stage 5. Before the storm. The night before the battle, both armies waited in silence. Persian forces prepared with confidence. But in the Macedonian camp, many soldiers feared what would happen at dawn, because they had never faced an army this large. But Alexander did something unusual. Instead of planning all night, he slept, calmly, deeply, as if tomorrow was already decided. Stage 6. Dawn. At sunrise, dust rose over the plains. Thousands of soldiers moved into position. Armor glowed under the sun. Horses stamped the ground. And for a moment, everything was silent. Then, the horns sounded, and history began to change. Stage 7. The armies face each other. As the sun climbed higher, both armies finally saw each other clearly. The Persian line stretched across the horizon, so wide that it seemed endless. Dust clouds rose behind them, and their numbers alone created fear. The Macedonian army stood in silence, smaller, tighter, disciplined. Each soldier knew there would be no retreat. Stage 8. Darius's strategy. Darius believed he held every advantage. His army was larger, his cavalry was faster, his chariots were built to tear through infantry lines, and the flat plains of Gaugamela favored his forces. His plan was simple: overwhelm Alexander from all sides, end the battle quickly, end the invasion forever. Stage 9. Alexander's plan. But Alexander had studied Persia carefully. He knew their strength was also their weakness. Large armies are harder to control. They move slower, and they depend on coordination. Alexander chose precision over numbers. He would not attack directly. He would stretch the Persian line, force them to move, force them to make mistakes. Stage 10. The first movement. The battle began slowly. Alexander moved his right flank outward, step by step, carefully. Darius watched closely, and then he reacted. Persian cavalry began shifting to block Alexander's movement, exactly as Alexander expected. Stage 11. Chaos begins. Darius ordered his chariots forward. The ground thundered as they charged, blades spinning, horses racing, dust rising into the sky. But the Macedonians did not panic. They opened their ranks just enough and let the chariots pass through, then attacked from behind. The strategy worked. Stage 12. The critical moment. As Persian forces shifted, a gap opened near the center, small but visible. Alexander saw it instantly. Without hesitation, he gave the order. The companion cavalry moved forward, fast, focused, deadly. Stage 13. The decisive charge. Alexander led the charge himself, straight toward Darius, through chaos, through arrows, through cavalry clashes. This was the turning point. Because battles are not always decided by numbers. Sometimes they are decided by seconds. Stage 14. Darius flees. As Alexander approached, panic spread in the Persian center. Communication broke down. Units lost formation. And then Darius turned his chariot and fled. The moment the king fled, everything changed, because Persian morale collapsed instantly. Stage 15. Collapse. What began as an organized army became chaos. Soldiers ran in every direction. Cavalry abandoned positions. Commanders lost control. Alexander did not stop. His army pursued relentlessly. The battlefield turned into a rout. Stage 16. Aftermath. By sunset, the Persian Empire had not disappeared, but its power had broken. Gaugamela ended Persian resistance as a global superpower, and it changed history forever. Stage 17. The road after Gaugamela. The battle was over, but the war was not. After Gaugamela, Alexander did not stop. He moved deeper into Persian lands. City after city opened its gates. Some surrendered peacefully, others resisted and paid the price. The empire that once ruled millions was now retreating. Stage 18. Babylon falls. Alexander entered Babylon without resistance. The city welcomed him. Priests greeted him. Crowds gathered, and for the first time, he stood inside the heart of the Persian world. But Alexander did not see himself as a destroyer. He wanted to be seen as a successor. Stage 19. The treasures of Persia. From Babylon, Alexander marched toward Persepolis, the ceremonial capital of Persia. There, he saw unimaginable wealth: gold, silver, artifacts from across the empire. But victory came with contradiction. Because Alexander admired Persia, yet he had also destroyed it. Stage 20. The burning of Persepolis. One night, a fire began inside Persepolis. Historians still debate why. Some say revenge, some say accident, some say politics. But the flames spread quickly, palaces burned, columns collapsed, and the ceremonial heart of Persia was lost forever. Stage 21. The last days of Darius. Meanwhile, Darius fled east, trying to rebuild support, trying to survive. But his empire was gone. And eventually, his own commanders turned against him. Darius was found later wounded, abandoned, dying in a wagon. Stage 22. The meeting that never happened. When Alexander reached him, Darius was already dead. But Alexander stopped. He covered Darius's body with his own cloak, a rare moment of respect between enemies. Stage 23. The empire ends. With Darius gone, the Persian Empire officially ended. An empire that lasted over 2 centuries. An empire that once seemed unstoppable, gone in a single generation. Stage 24. The legacy. But history does not end with defeat. Persia survived in culture, in language, in identity, and in memory. Even today, the story of Gaugamela remains a reminder that power is never permanent. Empires rise, empires fall, but history remembers the moments that changed everything. And on a quiet plain in Mesopotamia, one battle reshaped the world forever. Subscribe to HistoryMind, where we uncover the real stories behind history's greatest turning points.